option.
Is this a meme? I'm watching it. I'm turning it on.
Players have a wide selection of equipment to choose from when speccing their character. Teeth, claws, stingers, spikes, each weapon has distinct advantages and disadvantages in combat. Some, like teeth, are better at dealing damage but offer less range and require the user take a significant risk committing to an attack attempt. Claws are a good middle ground, offering solid damage but allowing the user to keep their vitals at least a little bit further away from counterattack range. On the other end of the spectrum is what I'd like to discuss in today's video: horns and antlers. This video was sponsored by Audible, have by far the furthest reach in the game.
Holy shit.
This makes them excellent defensive weapons, as it gives players a large threat range that an approaching player needs to find a way to get through in order to
Alright, I got the next one.
Against a player with powerful horns or large antlers, messing up your approach and getting counterattacked can spell disaster.
I'm invested.
Since these attacks can deal devastating damage when they connect. However, actually connecting with a strike isn't always easy for players who spec into the straight.
Hey,
Since skull projections can be quite heavy and cumbersome, swinging them can be quite slow and risky in and of itself. Because if the attack is dodged by an aggressive opponent, you might be left wide open to getting rushed down and taking a ton of damage. So today, I'd like to delve deeper into the advantages and disadvantages that come with equipping skull weapons to your character, and discuss some examples of good and bad usage of this perk. The two main types of skull weapons
just
are
bow?
They
horns
just like
and
touch
antlers.
tips. Yeah.
Horns are permanent and usually equipable to both sexes, whereas antlers are grown and shed each year, and usually a perk exclusive to male characters. Players in the Servid faction have exclusive access to antlers, while horns can be equipped to a wide variety of character
Dude,
types and have the major advantage
like,
of being permanent.
That's a huge
Large
one.
antlers are useful for resource competition against other players, and
Oh.
occasionally to deter predators.
Get 'em.
But really their primary function is tied to the reproduction quest line.
Quest
Part
line.
of the Servid quest line is that in order to complete the mating quest, male characters need to become party leader. And in order to achieve the rank of party
Imagine,
leader,
like,
a Servid must
in order to
duel
win
against
over,
other male Servid
or, like-
characters and defeat them.
Okay, John. Like, let's say,
Antlers allow these players to duel
imagine
in a
a
way that
world
tests
where
their
in order to
strength
date me, you
while
have to
still
fight
remaining
someone.
mostly non-lethal, as these players don't
You had
actually
to
want
go to
team
bat
kill their own
with
party
some
members.
individual.
As far as combat abilities
Like
go,
a Scott Pilgrim
antlers
scenario?
probably aren't the most optimal
Yeah.
choice. They weigh
Even
the
though I don't
user
remember
down
that
quite a
movie.
bit, make it more difficult to move through dense forest, and
You
the enormous
idiot!
amount
Cool.
of energy it takes to shed and regrow
No!
them on a regular basis makes them a handicap rather than a perk. They don't have many secondary uses either. They can be used to dig with, but there's no upside to using antlers to dig rather than your feet. In short, antlers are a flex, the kind players can really only get away with when they're already doing quite well and have resources to spare. And even then, antler users
It's a
tend to ditch the trait
horn.
as soon as the window to complete the mating quest line closes for the year. Horns, on the other hand, can be
Oh.
used to great effect against a wider variety of opponents.
Get 'em.
Large horns can deal devastating piercing damage and can also be used to inflict knockback, destabilizing even
Knockback.
the most aggressive players and creating an opening for a deadly strike to connect. However, they're really only useful in 1v1 combat, since a group of attackers can easily overwhelm a horn user from multiple directions at once, and prevent them
That's
from
not fair.
connecting
They
a
didn't
strike.
respect the
So
1v1.
it's
He would have
important to
won.
balance your character with other
Yeah, it's
traits
kinda
like
lame.
bulk or
Yeah.
speed to help compensate for this weakness.
Boo!
Skull weapons were added to the game's equipment roster during the late Tetrapod expansion, possibly
Late
serving to
Tetrapod
facilitate
expansion.
party member recognition.
This
and
is
later
troll
being
because this
co-opted
guy
for
talks
defensive
exactly like
purposes.
you talk.
While data miners are unsure
What do you
whether
mean?
It's
early
like all
horn users
in-game
like the Triceratops
terminology.
build had horn attacks as an
What do you
integral
mean?
part of their
He's
combat
like, yeah, like
movesets.
this patch came out.
Players in the current meta
I'm like-
employ
This is normal
a wide variety
terminology.
of strategies
Of
to get
course.
the most out of their equipment.
Anyways, you guys could be
Tank
friends.
builds like the Rhinoceros tend to use horns primarily for the knockback effect in 1v1
I think just normal
matchups,
dude.
though they're capable of
Okay.
inflicting lethal piercing damage as
Yeah.
well. More agile builds like the Wildebeest and Cape Buffalo coordinate team defenses against predators that employ both horn and kick attacks.
Holy
and have a high
shit!
critical hit ratio due to the sharpness of their horns.
Damn!
Some animals with skull weapons favor other types of attacks, using their long legs
That
as a
boy got
primary
horns!
defense against
Oh
predators,
my
and
god.
mostly use their
Yo,
skull
giraffes
mods
got
to fight against
hooves.
others of the same build type.
I feel like
As
what
powerful and
can
impressive
take down
as
a
horns
giraffe?
are, their overall contribution to the viability
You
of
see
the
that, like,
character is
triple
less than you might
AoE?
expect, especially in terms of how vital they are to a player's game plan for
Run.
dealing with predator attacks. Most horn users spend a ton of evolution points on their base speed stat to avoid confrontation with more powerful players.
A
in
gun
the first
lol.
place,
Yeah, that's why humans are
meaning
OP.
that
You
heavy
should watch
skull
the tier
equipment
list on them.
actually impedes this strategy rather than synergizing with it. Horn attacks tend to be employed as a last resort with varying degrees of success, since their base accuracy is so low. Horns lose their value in combat if the player's head is immobilized. So to use this perk effectively, the build should have a high base stamina and
They
access
should
to a
just grow
variety of
helmets
other attacks
instead.
that can counter
They
a
should just grow
grappling attack.
armor instead.
Since most animals with
Just become
horns
a
and
turtle.
antlers defend themselves more effectively with their feet,
There's a tier list on
there are
turtle.
plenty of examples of similar builds like
They spec in
sabers
only
and
defense.
camels that are equally viable without horns equipped at all. However, in builds like rhinos that spec into bulk instead of speed, horns are fundamental to their combat strategy, and viability
Dude,
suffers
hippo- oh
significantly
my.
if their horns are damaged. When equipping your character,
Look
it's
at the
important to
chompers
consider
on that
both
thing.
your own
I would
character's
be a
stats
rhino.
and
I feel like
types of
rhinos
attackers
have
you're likely
good-
to encounter before you decide to spec into an
Um.
expensive skull weapon. For example, if the primary threat in your server is a build from the Panthera faction, horns might
Hey,
not be
let
the
him
most
go!
optimal choice,
Fuck him
since
up!
Big Cat's
I don't know
primary
why, but I
objective
always
is
root
to
for
protect
anything, but that
horns
it's
and
not a
necks.
lion.
So you may be better off investing.
Like,
in
I
more
always want the
forceful
lion
hits
to lose.
that can be used while keeping
Yeah.
your head out of reach.
I don't know why.
But if the meta is more centralized around canine builds, front-facing weaponry may be the better option, since canines tend to target their prey's rear and get kills via bleed damage.
No!
Well-rounded with respect
I always
to
want the
speed,
lion to win.
bulk,
I never
and
want the
overall
lion to win. I'm
combat
just like,
movesets. But most importantly,
know.
they spec their characters to be best equipped to
That's an
counter the most
SKT fan right
dangerous
there.
threats in the current meta. Now, since the best insight into the metagame can be found in books, gaining the knowledge necessary to
Where
be
are we?
properly equipped can be tough, especially if your character's eyesight or concentration stats aren't the best. But the good news
She's
is,
so tired.
in an effort to make eyesight a less overpowered ability, the devs have started introducing more
Can we just have a
benefits
day where we
to
just do
benefits that
stock
into auditory
films?
abilities.
Ew, ew.
One of which is the advent of the audiobook.
Sir?
Audiobooks are an amazing way to optimize your efficiency.
Like, I wanna do
allowing you
stock
to
films
gain
like this.
XP
We
and
do.
other skill while also increasing your knowledge stat passively. Where can you get access to these overpowered? It's the world's largest. I've been an awesome where new members.
That was a
free
long.
title
This is the
Audible Patreon.
longest ad. All right.
Or ours aren't long enough.